What's up, guys? We are back with another Overwatch Ultimates review from Hasbro, taking a look at a figure that I guess I kind of overlooked, and then he just sort of popped up on Amazon. So we're taking a look at the Chrome Skin Genji figure. This guy comes in the same single pack style box we saw with the rest of the line so far. So character artwork on the front, window, a specialization icon for DPS, and then the back of the box has got a little bit of like a stats write-up as well as more of that same artwork. So let's do it. Let's pull this guy out and take a look. And here he is out of the package, our Chrome Skin Genji figure from Overwatch Ultimates. And there's some interesting stuff going on with this figure. Some good, some not as good, but I'm still having some fun with this guy despite a few limitations here and there. So let's jump right in, take a look at Articulation, because that's kind of where I'm seeing some limitations, which I guess in retrospect, it's kind of the theme with this line in some ways, is that they are quite articulated, but at the same time, their sculpts seem to hinder them quite a bit, which is kind of weird. It's unfortunate, kind of weird though. So the head, to start with, can't look up. It can't go any further than neutral, but he can go down pretty decently. The disc just stops right at the top of the neck. You can rotate side to side. The arms go out, they rotate at the shoulder. You do have a butterfly joint, but it doesn't really do a whole lot because of these armor pieces, and because of that, you're probably going to have a bit of a difficult time actually getting him to do a two-handed sword pose. So you can sort of get him there, but it's not as natural or easy as it should have been with butterfly joints, so that's a problem. You've got your bicep swivels, you've got double jointed elbows, so pretty good movement there. You've got hinges and rotation at the wrist, normal stuff. You've got your diaphragm cut, which is pretty normal for this line so far. You can get him to go all over the place. Ab crunch goes forward, backward pretty well. So we've got that newer style torso articulation, which is pretty much a hallmark of this line, and I really, really like it. Legs are interesting because we've got what ultimately is a very gappy crotch area because of this thigh and hip system here. So you've got a double ball peg on either side, and they go out about that far. They kick forward really high though. I mean, you can really get him to do all you want. So you can get him to do crazy stuff like that if you needed. He goes back quite a bit as well. So they do have a wide range of movement, but it's kind of at the cost of gaps. You've got a thigh cut, you've got double jointed knees. Watch out for this area. I have pinched the hell out of my hand doing this a few times already. And then you've got rocker down at the ankles, but he has these little like stirrup things that cover the feet, so they only go until they hit those. And then you've got hinges. So, he kind of has the same kind of stuff as the rest of the wave, or rest of the line so far anyway, but he's just got a lot of little things that seem to stop him, like the butterfly joints, the ankles, and then the hip area moves really, really well. It just kind of looks a little wonky almost. Now, as far as the overall look and feel, I think this is a pretty solid looking Genji figure for the most part. He's not even remotely towards the top of my list in characters I really play a lot when it comes to Overwatch. He and his brother as well as Hanzo, I just don't care for playing either of them all that much, but I like his design. And this, of course, is the Chrome Skin, so he is decked out in mostly silvers and whites. But unfortunately, that's kind of like where one of my gripes comes in, is that the silver on this is really more of a dull gray. It's not all that silver. I wish he had a little bit more metallic paint. It definitely does pick up the light more than like these matte areas on the torso and the crotch, and obviously more than the white. So there is a little bit of luster there. I just kind of wish that they went a little higher on that. Maybe not so much as like the Silver Surfer paint on Marvel Legends, because that's not really how this skin looks either. It's just more of a shiny metal rather than a shining silver guy. So I wish they would have gone a little bit more, but the paint anyway, though, is really clean. I don't have any real paint flubs to note on this figure. Everything looks pretty solid. All the line work seems pretty nice and tight. And then, of course, all of this silver stuff is painted for the most part. Well, not the shins down here, but it all is in proportion to the rest of the figure. So all of the paint on it looks quite symmetrical from side to side. I'm pretty happy with the applications. I just wish that it was a little bit shinier. Otherwise, though, the sculpt is really good. Lots of little details all over, the little symbols and the little gouges and marks that are all over the figure itself. They even went so far as to sculpt the little notches and nubs that are on his feet, which do make standing him a little weird. It doesn't make it impossible or even remotely difficult. It's just something you have to kind of remember that, yeah, he's got these bumps on his feet, but otherwise, though, he looks pretty good. He's got two scabbards on his back. You've got the one at his waist and the one that's on his back for his various swords. And yeah, I mean, he looks pretty good. I think he definitely seems to be a little bit more proportional than some of the other figures. He doesn't seem to have kind of like the small head syndrome that a few of them had, like Soldier kind of does, and Sombra, she seems to be the worst one, at least for me. So I think he looks pretty solid in terms of overall body look and proportion, size. He just isn't as shiny as I wanted. The head sculpt, though, I think is really good for this figure. I'm pretty happy with just about everything going on from the neck up. You've got, obviously, a very robotic cyborg style of head sculpt, so there's no face here. There's nothing to worry about in that regard. It's just a helmet, a mask, and a little bit of paint. So you've got that kind of slightly shiny silvery gray paint, and you've got the green eyes, which look really nice here. Again, paint apps are really clean and crisp. That's a little bit of a difference from some of the figures that I had in Wave 1. Some of my figures had kind of haphazard paint applications here and there, Anna and Sombra in particular that I remember, but Genji seems to be fine. He doesn't have a ton of intricate paint detail, and that might be the saving grace here, but what he does have is pretty clean and nicely applied. And then you've got the sort of scarf that hangs back from his helmet, which is just done up in white, and you got a little gash in there. So it looks good. It's all nicely sized, nicely proportioned. Again, this is another instance where I think this particular figure looks as proportional as possible compared to some of the other figures. He doesn't really have that kind of small head thing going on. Now, as far as accessories goes, Genji has a pretty solid array. There is, I don't know, maybe one thing I kind of wish he had, but for the most part, I think we've got a good selection here. So you've got a couple swappable hands. You've got a style pose hand over here for his left hand, and for his right hand, you've got a shuriken throwing hand. So this is, a very Marvel Legends-y kind of thing, like Bullseye, something like that. So you've got the translucent green here for the effect, the shurikens at the end, and then the hand itself is, of course, painted because it's all translucent plastic, and then, kind of complete the look. So that's a right hand, which I like that. I'm really happy with that. I mean, it's his main method of attack, so you've got to have that as far as the game goes. But then you've also got, his standard sword that you can use, his normal sword, pre-ultimate, which is just silver with a little bit of black on the hilt. And this guy fits in the waist scabbard sheath, and then you've got his ultimate sword, whatever it's called, the dragon blade or whatever it's supposed to be. So this is done up in black blade with a little bit of kind of a yellowy green on the end, and then the same with the black and silver for the hilt. And this guy fits in the sheath on his back. So you've got pretty much everything he really needs. I kind of wish he had a bit of an energy effect to wrap around the sword, kind of, like when he's actually in his ultimate, because we see that a lot with this line. It's not a huge thing because, frankly, I'm probably going to use the shuriken effect a lot, but he does come with a pretty well-rounded amount of accessories, fairly par for the course when it comes to this line so far. So overall, I've got a few gripes with this figure. It's nothing that I would consider to be experience-breaking, though. He's a little limited when it comes to articulation because of his sculpt, and I wish he was shinier, but otherwise, I do like this guy. I'm having a lot of fun with him. He gets into some dynamic poses pretty well despite those hindrances, and he still looks cool. There's no real way around that. Despite the fact that I'm not a huge fan of playing this character, I love the way he looks. Genji has an awesome design, and I think Hasbro translated it to figure form pretty well, and honestly, I already got 2 other Genjis on pre-order already, so I'm pretty in for this figure no matter what. So that's going to do it for this look at the Overwatch Ultimates Chrome Genji. Let me know what you guys think. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and until next time.